Hi, welcome to my presentation. I did my paper on the climate changes in interior Alaska and some of the resulting differences for subsistence activities. For the purpose of this presentation, I decided to just read the paper in its entirety instead of summarizing because it covers a lot of different types of topics, and I think it would make a lot more sense that way. When I think about the words climate change, I tend to think about warming temperatures and the permanent impact people have had on the Earth. According to the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA, certain gases produced by human practices, such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, and CFCs, have led to the now well-known greenhouse effect. The warming temperatures that are occurring are even more pronounced in the Arctic than in other areas of the globe, because the melting sea ice creates more ocean surface, which absorbs more heat from the sun, resulting in more melting ice. This cycle causes significant changes in the ocean waters, and in turn we can expect many changes to all areas of the biosphere. There are already major changes occurring for many people who live along the western coast and northernmost regions of Alaska. Loss of sea ice, melting permafrost, and the resulting erosion and flooding are creating dangerous living conditions and reducing access to resources for many people. In some villages like Akiak, drinking water reservoirs are dangerously low because of a lack of rainfall. In others like Shishmaref, homes are falling into the ocean because of the erosion caused by melting permafrost. These changes are causing people to relocate their homes, change their hunting practices, and ultimately alter their culture. Are similar changes happening to the environment and affecting the people in interior Alaska? In this paper, I explore the climate changes that have affected the plant and animal life in interior Alaska and the impacts these changes have had on subsistence practices. I have focused my research on articles relating to areas in and surrounding the Fairbanks North Star Borough, Yukon Flats, and Middle Yukon Koyukuk. I've seen spelling differences in the word Athabaskan with a K and with a C, and have decided to use the former throughout this presentation and this paper due to the important resource of the Arctic Athabaskan Council. They use the spelling with a K. According to NOAA, the above-mentioned amplified warming effect in the Arctic is expected to be about twice as much as the rest of the world. Although we must consider many variables on temperature changes throughout the years, temperature data gathered over the past 100 years in Fairbanks and surrounding areas have shown an overall increase of 1.4 degrees Celsius, with an 11% decrease in precipitation. The frequency of having very low temperatures below 45 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter has decreased by 1 to 2 weeks on average, and the growing season has increased by about 45%. Earlier thaw in the spring means that there is less snow to reflect energy from the sun away from the Earth's surface, which causes more warming. These temperature changes have led to some immediate hazards for plants and wildlife. A large portion of interior Alaska's boreal forest is made up of black spruce trees. These trees are highly flammable, and the increasing temperatures have made the forests in the interior more susceptible to wildfire. Shrinking wetlands, believed to be caused by the increased temperatures and lower precipitation, are causing additional fire problems because they act as natural fire breaks. Sparse fire breaks mean that more area can be consumed when wildfires do break out. Increased wildfire in the boreal forest in interior Alaska results in loss of habitat for many mammals and changes in the natural regulation of freshwater streams. Boreal forests are critical components of water systems like rivers and streams, helping to control hazards like erosion and flooding. Changes in temperature, rainfall, and natural regulation by forests have had impacts on interior Alaska's freshwater streams and the behavior of fish in these habitats. Water temperature and salinity have been affected in the ocean, which has led to changes in lakes and rivers in interior Alaska as well. Locations and times of year for spawning have been altered because many fish, such as salmon, depend on specific water temperature for laying eggs. Many fish search out the colder, glacier-fed creeks, which creates abundance in some areas and scarcity in others. In some areas, the abundance of salmon has drawn bear populations to areas they would not usually hunt, often causing hazards in human hunting and fishing areas. The increased temperatures, longer growing season, and increased fire hazard and increased human activity have all played a part in the changes faced by the animals in interior Alaska. One species that has been considerably affected is the caribou. Caribou typically go through natural cycles of population highs and lows, but studies have shown a 1/3 decrease in population since the last high peak in the late 1990s. Rising temperatures and fire damage are reducing the amount of lichen that the caribou depend upon for winter forage. More frequent freeze and thaw conditions create hard snow and ice, making winter foraging more difficult, which further depletes the energy of the caribou. The longer growing season has increased the growth of vegetation in some areas, but this may be at the cost of essential nutrients. Because reproductive systems of the caribou depend on a certain ratio of body fat and protein at certain times of the year, chances of pregnancy can be lessened by the lack of forage and energy stresses, creating issues for overall population size. Although they prefer a wetland habitat, moose populations, with help from predator control programs, have shown that they can recover quickly from the increased amount of wildfires and droughts likely caused by climate change. Studies on habitats damaged by forest fires show that moose can again reach their peak population within 10 to 25 years, while caribou, relying on slow-growing lichens, may take 80 years or more to fully recover. However, observations by interior Alaska's Athabascan people have noted moose transitioning north in recent years, perhaps in response to the scarcity of their preferred habitat. Other kinds of deer from southern areas of Alaska have been transitioning closer to the interior as well. It is important to call attention to this transition, as historical Athabascan observations note that moose were not hunted in the interior until 100 years ago. This may indicate a shift in animal habitats all over Alaska, with uncertain consequences. Changes in temperature are leading to an increase in insects and parasites. The longer growing season and warmer winters are having effects on common insect populations and are creating a more hospitable environment for others. Some insects, like the spruce bark beetle, are infesting and destroying trees at an alarming rate. Others cause hazard and injury to animal populations, such as the warblefly's harassment of caribou. The risk to animal populations by parasites and disease has been observed, especially in regards to animals like deer that are transitioning north. The many changes to the environment and animals in interior Alaska illustrate the interconnectedness of climate change on the whole. How do these changes affect the humans in interior Alaska? Urban life is immersed in technology and often luxury, which simultaneously adds to and absorbs some of the effects of climate change. For the purpose of this paper, I've decided not to investigate the impacts upon the urban interior Alaskan, but focus instead on the changes faced by the rural Athabascan villages. The Athabascan people have lived in interior Alaska for over 6,000 years. The historical and recent observations of the Athabascan people that live a subsistence lifestyle are critical to understanding the changes that interior Alaska has undergone and possible impacts for the future. Direct observations of the environment and information passed down by oral tradition give a long-term set of knowledge to compare to the data collected recently by Western scientists. Many of the combined observed changes show differences in animal populations and behavior, increased number and extent of wildfire, and hazardous travel on rivers and lakes due to drying. These observations also note that the resources required for subsistence survival are less available and more difficult to access. About 6% of the population of people in the interior live in remote villages, accessible only by river or air. Climate changes have affected the means of travel because the weather can be dangerously unpredictable. In these areas, survival often depends upon the local environment, where people hunt, fish, and gather most of their resources. Supplies like fuel and store-bought foods must be delivered by plane or boat. Not only do people have to contend with the changing environmental conditions, like drying of rivers and unstable ice conditions, they also have to deal with the high cost of supplies and fuel for boats or snow machines. This can be stressful in remote villages where dollar income is low and wage labor is extremely limited. Travel hazards have been mentioned by locals to be of great concern, especially in regards to hunting and fishing. In winter, the ice is often not freezing solid enough to travel upon by snow machine. This creates a lack of access to trapping and hunting areas. The rivers in summer are shrinking, likely due to melting permafrost, lack of rainfall, and increased temperatures. This can cause damage to boats and other equipment, leading to costly repairs and safety issues for the travelers. Safety is a major concern when considering the traditional methods of teaching, hunting, fishing, and gathering as well. Uncertain weather conditions significantly alter the frequency and type of opportunities to teach the younger generations. The changes in animal behavior and migration can add stress to the already uncertain and precarious conditions for hunting and fishing in the interior. Traditional hunting practices, such as the use of fences for corralling caribou, may have to be altered because of the obstacles of the altered terrain. Decreases in animal populations due to the climate conditions puts additional strain on subsistence users when federal and state agencies implement regulations and restrictions on hunting and fishing. This has been a continuous source of friction between subsistence users and politicians, because government response is often incongruent with rural Alaskan culture. The loss of culture and heritage resulting from climate change has been of deep concern to the Athabascan people. Subsistence practices are not only a way of obtaining resources, they're a way of life. These practices create a bond with the land, and the Athabascan people treat this bond with respect. When many restraints, environmental as well as political, are put upon the practices of subsistence, such as hunting and fishing, then rural communities are faced with a challenge to their culture. Many communities have responded to this challenge by holding culture camps, where elders have the opportunity to tell stories and pass down knowledge to younger generations, apart from the direct practices of hunting, fishing, and gathering. These communities are adapting to many changing conditions, ensuring that the young people get the learning they need to maintain their cultural practices, a testament to their resilience. When beginning this research, I did not expect to find this many changes to the interior of Alaska. I thought that beyond the recent warm winters, the interior has been somewhat sheltered from the climate change effects that are occurring. It is apparent to me now that the changes are closely connected, and to alter one aspect of the biosphere means to alter them all. This understanding has given me a deeper concern for what has happened and what the future may hold. Thankfully, although many of the effects from climate change have already occurred and will continue in the near future, studies have shown that human behavior can still make a positive impact in the Arctic and worldwide if we concentrate our efforts on reducing reliance on fossil fuels and limiting gaseous emissions. Thanks for watching.